Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jessica Medina, and I am from the Financial Aid Office. Welcome to Financing Your USC Education. I have a few colleagues with me today. Actually, I have one. One is on her way, so she'll join us in just a little bit. But Danny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Definitely. My name is Danny Finley, and I'm also a member of the Financial Aid Office here at USC. So me and Jessica will be providing you guys with a bunch of answers to any financial aid questions you guys may have.
Okay, great. And let's go ahead and get started. We have about an hour, so we're really looking for questions from our viewers. So if you have any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat box, and Danny and I would be more than welcome to answer those. But to start off, let's talk a little bit about financial aid and how financial aid actually works. And Danny, would you like to talk a little bit about how financial aid actually expenses to the account? A lot of students are wondering why their federal financial aid has not expensed to the account quite yet. So do you mind talking about that for a little bit?
Yeah, sure thing. So I hope most of you have applied for financial aid. If you haven't, it's not too late. Being incoming students, we don't hold you to the same deadlines as we do with continuing students. But if you have applied for financial aid and have received your financial aid award summary, you're probably wondering why all your financial aid hasn't dispersed into your billing account yet. Well, all federal and state aid, so that would be any federal loan funding, as well as any federal grant funding or any state grant funding, can't dispense into a student's billing account until 10 days before the start of classes. So at the earliest, the federal and state aid will be able to disperse into your account on August 14th, which would be 10 days before the start of classes in this upcoming semester. Any aid that you are receiving from USC, so like a USC university grant or a USC scholarship, that will most likely disperse into your billing account before August 14th. But as far as all federal and state aid, that would have to wait until 10 days before the start of classes.
Okay, thanks, Danny. And our other colleague joined us, so would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Lori Council. I'm here representing the Office of Student Financial Services and the University Cashier's Office.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we were just discussing how financial aid actually expenses to the EPay account. Would you like to talk a little bit about EPay and what it's about?
Okay. So EPay is your online billing system. Once you register for classes, all of the charges, all university charges will be assessed to the EPay account. So you can view the account at any time once you register for classes. The bills on EPay will follow a standard billing cycle so that, for example, our bill for the fall semester was created July 25th, and an email went out advising you that there is now a bill online. And when you log into that bill, when you log into EPay, that bill will only cover a specific time period, charges assessed from an opening date to a closing date. Any charges after that will still be viewable if you look on EPay in the Your Account section, but it won't be printed on a bill until the next billing cycle. So our fall bill has been created. Of course, as financial aid has been speaking about, all of the aid isn't there yet, but you can still view the charges, make sure that the charges are appropriate and that they're charges you were anticipating as far as the housing, the meal plan. There are a lot of students making changes to their meal plans, so make sure the appropriate charge is on there for your meal plan. Health insurance is a big question. We're getting all of the all of the students were assessed the mandatory health insurance, but you can waive that. We advise, if you review the health insurance guidelines and you know that your insurance is going to be accepted, that you just simply deduct it, don't pay it, and then have to be refunded it. But there's a lot to look at on the bill. So make sure that those charges are all appropriate and charges you were anticipating. Once the aid does come in on the 14th, you'll be able to look at the account and see the new adjusted balance, and that's what's due by the 21st of August.
Great. Okay. And we had a few people join us, so feel free to ask any questions. We're really just talking about a lot of hot questions that we get around this time. So if you have any questions, feel free to write those in the chat box. We're really here to answer any questions that you might have for us. So go ahead and type those in. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is work study. So some of our students usually wonder, well, what is work study? They are wondering why they actually don't see that lump some in their EPay account? And the answer is you actually have to find a job on campus in order to start earning your work study funds. So you will not receive a lump disbursement into your EPay account titled work study. It's really meant to help supplement any other expenses that you may have throughout the academic year, personal miscellaneous expenses, transportation if you need it for that. It's really not meant to go towards the bill to pay for tuition and mandatory fees at the beginning of the semester. Keep in mind that it is a proactive process. We do not place students in work study students in work study positions. You would have to find a job on campus. However, we help facilitate that conversation by hosting a work study fair either the Thursday or Friday before classes start. And that's a chance for you to kind of walk around and just apply for different types of work study positions that are available. To prep for that work study fair, I suggest that you create your schedule of availability, where you actually write down what hours you would be able to work throughout the semester. That way you have something to discuss with a potential employer. And keep in mind, again, those funds go directly to you in the form of a paycheck. You get a paycheck every single 2 weeks, and the amount is decided by the amount of hours that you work within those 2 weeks, and your hourly rate is decided by your employer. Okay, and it looks like we have one question from Shirley. So we are going to go ahead and answer that, and maybe Danny, if you want to go ahead and take this one. The question is, she would like to know or get to know some financial aid resources for international students.
Sure. So unfortunately, Shirley, international students aren't eligible for need-based aid, and that would be what the financial aid office here at USC handles. So those are going to be things such as the federal loans, federal grants, university grant, as well as the federal work study. Now, there are some scholarships available for international students, but the international student or yourself would have to be very proactive in finding these scholarships. We do have a list of scholarships that are provided to our students on our website. That's a great place to start, as well as I would look at different free scholarship search engines and looking at the different criteria of the scholarships that you're interested in and applying to as many as you possibly qualify for.
Great, thank you. And we also have another question regarding work study. So are there jobs for students that were not awarded a work study grant? And the answer is yes. It may be a little bit difficult to find a work study position or a non-work study position on campus, but it is possible. So you're more than welcome to attempt to try to find those. Maybe the Career Center on campus would have some listings, as well as I usually say try some of the larger offices on campus, the bookstore, transportation. They usually need a lot more hands on deck, so to speak, to assist all of the questions that come through. And it looks like we're having a little bit of phone difficulty, but that's okay. So for work study, again, if you don't have work study on your financial aid summary, you can still try to find a job on campus. It's not going to be as easy as you having work study, but you're still more than welcome to try to find a job on campus. And before we take any further questions, let's talk a little bit about loans. So Lori, I'm going to ask you if you can talk a little bit about the Perkins Loan and what the process is for the Perkins Loan. And then Danny, if you want to talk about the Stafford Loan and maybe the interest rates and the application process. And I'll go ahead and cover Parent Plus loans.
Okay, so your federal Perkins loan is awarded by financial aid and it'll be part of your award letter. But we sent an email out once we were notified that you were awarded this loan. We sent an email out to advise you how to sign online the promissory note for the federal Perkins loan. And that email would direct you to our servicer's website, ECSI. The issue is that a number of our incoming students aren't able to completely authenticate and sign the promissory note online. No worries, that's happening with a lot of students. You simply continue with the online process and complete the entrance counseling. Once you complete the online entrance counseling, it will enable you to print the promissory note. That promissory note, once printed, has to be completely filled out, and all 4 pages of the document have to be either mailed to our financial services office or brought in. Once we update that manually on the 14th, if we receive it prior to August 14th, you will not see the credit on your student account until August 14th. But the Perkins loan is, a very good loan awarded by financial aid. It has a 5% interest rate that will be the interest for the life of the loan. You do not go into repayment until 9 months after you cease enrollment at USC. So anyone who has questions about that, please contact our office. We've been walking students through the authentication process. So don't wait, contact us and we'll help you get through it.
Mm-hmm. And also just to add to the Perkins loan, so you want to make sure that you sign that master promissory note as soon as possible. If you're thinking about borrowing the loan, make sure that you do that master promissory note, because the federal government may be doing away, or we're kind of looking at that they're doing away with the Perkins loan from now on. And there is a deadline for you to sign that master promissory note. And it is a paper process if you do actually have to come in and bring the signature page. So you want to give enough time to actually get that form processed. And the federal deadline is September 30th. But again, since it's a paper process and a manual process at that, you want to make sure, I would say, to get it in at least 2.5 weeks before that deadline, which would be the ad hoc deadline. And then Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about Stafford loans?
Yeah, sure. So most of you, if you've received your financial aid award summary, should see how much you do qualify in Stafford loan eligibility. These Stafford loans are loans from the federal government, and there's two types. So when you're looking at your financial aid award summary, they'll be broken down into two different types. The first is going to be subsidized. And what subsidized means is that it's not accruing interest while you're in school. It does start accruing interest as soon as you either drop below half-time enrollment or you graduate. The next type is going to be unsubsidized. Now, this loan is accruing interest as soon as you borrow the loan and will be accruing interest throughout your time here at USC while you're in school, and will continue to accrue interest after you graduate or fall below half-time enrollment. The interest rate currently is at 4.29%. That's a fixed interest rate, and it's fixed for the life of the loan. As well, with the Stafford loans, there is an origination fee. What an origination fee is a certain percentage comes off the top of whatever you borrow and is refunded back to the federal government in the form of a payment. Now, what the interest is collecting on, as well as what you'll have to pay back, is the full amount you borrow. It doesn't deduct that origination fee from the amount that you borrowed. But that origination fee will be taken off the top. So say, for instance, if you borrowed $3,000, you're going to get whatever minus the origination fee is dispersed into your billing account. The current origination fee on the Federal Direct Stafford loans is 1.073%. These loans are deferred until 6 months after you graduate before you have to start repayment. As well, with these loans, they do have different repayment options. They have an income-based repayment option, which bases the amount of income you're making, or looks at the amount of income you're making and then bases the amount that you would pay back per month off of that. As well as they have a fixed payment option, which is a fixed payment for 10 years. So you pay the same amount each month for 10 years. If you do have these loans and you do plan on borrowing them, the next steps that you'll need to take is, first, you're going to have to fill out your Stafford loan request form. And that can be found on your FAST page, and it should be found under required info, and forms. The next step after that is going into studentloans.gov, signing the master promissory note or the contract to borrow the loan, and then as well doing entrance loan counseling. Entrance loan counseling is a worksheet that's going to give you the ins and outs of borrowing a federal loan. After these have been completed, then the loan will be eligible to disperse by August 14th if they've all been completed before that date, and they'll automatically, the funds will automatically disperse into your billing account.
Okay, and I'm going to discuss the PLUS loans, and then we're going to get to some of our questions, because a lot of our questions pertain to loans, and then we can kind of start talking about those as well. So there's also a Federal Direct Parent PLUS loan that's available for for parents of dependent students. They would be able to borrow the loan through the federal government. They do have to go through a credit check, and it is an unsubsidized loan. So as Danny mentioned, an unsubsidized loan is a loan that's accruing interest throughout the entire period of enrollment. So the PLUS loan, again, is in the name of the parent. The fixed interest rate is a 6.84%. There is also an origination fee for that loan at 4.292%. And the application process is that the parents would visit studentloans.gov, submit the application. The federal government reviews your parents' credit history, make sure that there isn't anything derogatory in your credit history, such as a foreclosure, bankruptcy, you're not delinquent on any payments more than 90 days. And then they decide if you are credit worthy to borrow the loan. There's no income to debt ratio and no FICO score. And the maximum you can borrow is the expected family contribution listed on your FAST page. So if you are approved, then the file would come to our office, and all the parent would need to do is sign their master promissory note, and that would also disperse August 14th. If the parent is credit denied, then you can either apply with an endorser, or you can contact our office and talk about some additional unsubsidized Stafford loan eligibility that you would be able to receive. And then we would kind of go from there and give you the additional unsubsidized Stafford loan. And again, all loans dispersed to your EPay account. And you want to make sure that you are borrowing only what you need. So Danny kind of mentioned yesterday during another Google Hangout that we were having, that you want to make sure that you are borrowing responsibly, that you're not borrowing more than what you actually need to cover your bill. So utilize that undergraduate planning worksheet on your FAST account to actually calculate the amount that you will owe and borrow that amount. And with that, let's kind of go into some of our questions. So Lori, if you want to answer this one, this one's from Roy.
Okay.
And he is asking, how exactly does a USC payment plan work? If I already signed up and expect local scholarship funds to come in, could I just pay the amount of the local scholarship will give me in one lump sum, or do I pay the portion of the money into monthly installments? So do you want to talk a little bit about how the payment plan works? And then Danny, talk a little bit about the coordination of scholarships.
Okay. So the USC payment plan is simply a line of credit that all students are eligible to apply for to assist them to pay the bill, to settle the debt by August 21st. The line of credit you would apply for on USC EPay homepage. All students are eligible as long as you're registered for classes and are in good standing, meaning you don't owe from a prior semester. And it's the amount that you are eligible to enroll for is determined by you. The payment plan will work in conjunction with other sources of payment, meaning your loans, gifts from family members. You can determine how much you're going to put on the payment plan. So if it's the entire billing balance, you go into EPay, click on enroll in the fall 2015 payment plan, and the question it'll ask you is how much do you want to divide into installments? So it can be the entire billing balance. If you are receiving aid, we ask that you do the calculations and actually come up with the portion that is your responsibility. Don't budget for the entire billing balance without deducting that aid, because we will just need to adjust it at a later date. So we want you to do the calculations, subtract the projected aid that financial aid says you're going to receive. And in addition to outside scholarships, we'd like you to deduct those. Don't pay for that up front, and because you'll just need a refund or a reduction in the payment plan at a later date. But once you come up with a figure, you type that figure in. The system's going to divide it into 5 installments immediately. The first installment is due to complete the application in addition to the $50 application fee. And then it will schedule the next 4 payments, all due on the 3rd of every month from September through December. So our payment plan is open now for fall students, and you're eligible to enroll now. In July, you can enroll and make the initial payment. So you're making the August payment a little bit early. You can enroll as late as August 21st, which is our settlement deadline, without any penalty. Just remember that your first and second payment, there's less time between those 2 payments. There will be a second payment due September 3rd. Okay.
And then you also had a question in regards to scholarships. So scholarships are used as a source of financial funding, even if they are from an outside agency. So Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about how a student can get that information to our office? What steps do they need to complete to notify us about a scholarship?
Sure. So sometimes scholarship agencies will want to send the check as well as the verification letter directly to our office. Sometimes they send that directly to you guys, the students. If they do send it to you, the students, just make sure to log on to our USC Financial Aid website. There you can find the address where you can send both of those items in. And then once we do get those items, we can incorporate those into your financial aid award summary. Once they're in your financial aid award summary, then they will be eligible to disperse to your billing account once we do receive the check from the outside scholarship. With that, any scholarship that's coming from a party that's not associated with the university will not reduce any of your need-based aid. So just please turn those into us. We'll get those incorporated in your financial aid award and get those able to disperse to your billing account.
Okay, thanks. And I just wanted to add as well, with any form of outside agency scholarship, it really just depends on how much you're actually getting from the outside agencies. So there are times that you have so much money coming from an outside agency that it may reduce something within your financial aid award summary. So it may reduce some of the university grant. We try as hard as we possibly can. That's the last item that we take a look at. But it is a coordination of all of the different types of financial aid that's coming in to your financial aid summary. So give us a call if you have any questions about that, or if you'd like to know how a scholarship will actually affect your financial aid summary. Okay. So Roy, thank you for that question. And then I'm trying to look through our scholarships. So we have a question from Maria that is asking if there are any specific deadlines to finish the MPN for loans. So do you want to talk a little bit about the Perkins? We talked about how to do it.
Yeah.
So if you would put a deadline for the Perkins loan, would you?
It would be the deadline that you
about add drop, which
drop
is
deadline.
September. I'm trying to look on my calendar
September
right now.
11th.
September 11th. Okay, so for the Perkins, you want to make sure that you sign that before September 11th. For your federal direct Stafford loans, there isn't a deadline. So if you need the funds to actually expense to pay off a portion of the bill by August 21st, you want to at least submit the application about 7 to 10 business days before that deadline. So, I mean, you can also borrow your Stafford loan throughout the academic year, which is why there isn't a hard deadline. There's a lot of families that don't need the funds for the fall semester, but may need them for the spring semester. So I usually say that the processing time is about 7 to 10 business days. So you always want to give that time frame before you actually need the loan to pay for educational related expenses. And then we have another question regarding merit-based aid. So Danny, if you want to take this one, are there resources to help students find merit-based aid? And are there any websites that have proven beneficial to students in the past?
Definitely. So if you go to our financial aid website, we will have a list of all the merit-based aid scholarships that are given out through different organizations here on campus. As well with that, you want to, on that same page, you should be able to see different free scholarship search engines that students have used to find different scholarships in the past. So you can definitely check there and use any of those. But there are numerous different free scholarship search engines online that you can take advantage of. Just make sure that they are free. If you ever encounter any scholarship that's asking you to pay anything, be very wary of that. That's not a valid scholarship or a valid scholarship search engine.
Great, thanks, Danny. And we had another question. So this is from Tufan. So is it possible to use the federal loans, both Perkins and Stafford loan, for off-campus housing, or is it only for housing through the university itself? So I'll talk a little bit about how funds expense and what you can use those for. And then Lori, if you want to talk about the e-refund process. So as Lori mentioned before, you have an EPay account, which is a central billing system for the university. And all of the charges that the university is billing you for directly will show up on that account. Tuition, mandatory fees, if you live on campus, your meal plan on campus, parking permit, anything, again, that the university is billing you for directly. Now, all sources of financial aid, whether it's a university grant, Pell Grant, Cal Grant, your loans, any source of financial aid will actually fund an expense to that EPay account. So in some cases, you have a surplus of financial aid, and that can be a combination of your grants and loans expensing as well. And then that surplus can be sent to you to pay for off-campus housing, books, supplies, and you would use those funds for any educational related expenses. And then Lori can talk about how to actually get those funds into your bank account.
So if there is a surplus on this EPay account, if you log into the EPay homepage and enroll in something called e-refund, which is an option on that page, you will designate a checking or savings account to receive any credit balances that are on your student account. The cashier's office reviews those credit balances on a daily basis, beginning the 19th is the first day of refunds. So any credit balances will be swept into the designated checking or savings account that you've enrolled on e-refund. That e-refund account is effective as long as it's there. So as long as you don't go in and delete it or change it, anytime there's a credit balance on that account on your e-refund or on your EPay account, it'll be deposited in your checking or savings account.
Great, thank you. And then Danny, if you want to take this question from Roy. So up to how many credit hours will a USC full tuition scholarship cover? And Roy, I'm assuming that you're talking about the trustee scholarship that's given through the admissions office. So Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about flat rate tuition and how many units you're enrolled in?
Sure. So here at USC, we do have what is considered flat rate tuition. That would be 15 to 18 units. It's charged the exact same price if you take 15 units per the semester up to 18 units per the semester. Anything below that is charged at a per unit rate. So 14 and below would be charged at a per unit rate. Anything above 18, what they're going to do is charge you the flat rate fee and then charge you per unit above that 18 unit limit. So if you were to get say the trustee scholarship, which covers the full tuition, it would be for that flat rate fee of the 15 to 18 units per semester.
Hi, thank you for that. So I'm pulling up our question board again. And for undergraduate students, for your trustee scholarship, you're anywhere between 12 to 18 units. 15 to 18 is for our graduate students. So I'm assuming that you're an undergrad. You didn't specify on your chat, so we weren't really sure. But for an undergraduate student, it's 12 to 18. And for a graduate student, it's 15 to 18 units. So let's see. Maria, we kind of already answered that question in regards to utilizing financial aid for bills outside of USC, so for books and supplies. Again, if your financial aid expenses to your EPay account and you do have that surplus, make sure that you sign up for e-refund, and then those funds can automatically be transferred over to your bank account. And then let's go ahead and answer this question by Manuel. Is there any type of scholarship or merit awards for international students once we are enrolled? He's an incoming international transfer, and there hasn't been any help for them to attend USC. Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about scholarships as a continuing student and where they can look to actually try to apply for those scholarships?
Sure thing. As well as looking on our website and the full list that we have of the different organizations that do provide scholarships to students, as being a continuing student, the place to look for scholarships are going to be with the department that you're studying in. So what I would suggest is when you register for your classes and you talk to your academic advisor, talk to them about the scholarships that specific department may offer to its continuing students. It's always good to find out early about it so then you can apply for the upcoming year. But the department would be the main source of merit-based aid for a continuing student here at USC.
Great, thank you. And we're running out of questions, guys. So if you have any more questions, feel free to jot those in the chat box for us, and we will be sure to get to them. One of our last questions is from Ruth. So are the estimated amounts for grants the exact amount we will receive? I know right now it says that they are currently awaiting authorization since they're waiting to be approved, but is it a guaranteed amount? Will we get those funds? Ruth, I'm assuming that you're talking about the Pell and the Cal grant, possibly, because those are the only two grants that I can think of that have estimated at the front. And it's just that we're waiting for authorization from the federal and the state government to actually expense those funds to the account. It is an estimated amount in regards to the amount that is listed there. if for any reason, we've probably already done a check to make sure that you're eligible for the Cal Grant and the Pell Grant. So again, we're just waiting for authorization to actually expense those funds from the federal or the state government. And with that, we're really done with our questions unless anybody else has anything else to add for us. I'm trying to look at my notes to see if there was anything else that I think we should probably go over. We talked about the 5-month payment plan, EPay, e-refund.
How about guest access?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect
I had a call today from
definitely.
A parent, or two parents actually, both parents were on the phone, asking if the bill had been created and how to pay it. And when I looked up the student account, the student was registered, there was a bill created, and the bill was sent out to the student with no guest users. So the parents were not aware that the bill was out there and that it had been, created and that they could view it. So students, it's really important, as parents are the ones that are generally taking on the financial responsibility, that they have access to that information. Without your authorization, there's something called the FERPA guidelines, which states that you as students are guaranteed to a right to privacy with regard to your student account. But a way to authorize us to speak to parents is to establish them as guest users. That meets the FERPA guidelines. So if you establish guest users, on either Oasis or EPay, not only will they get the information directly, they'll get the email that says a bill has been created, and they'll have access to log in to EPay to view that bill. But then we have your authorization to speak with them. If they should email us or call us on the phone, we check first to see, did the student say we can talk to you? So please set up guest access for your parents or anyone that would need access to that billing statement on either Oasis. And remember that Oasis is a sort of all-encompassing information center. So if you don't want them to have Oasis access, you can just specifically give them access to EPay, and they'll only have the billing information.
Great, thanks. Okay. And we did get quite a few questions, so we're going to go ahead and answer those. And the first one's for you, actually, Lori. Mm-hmm. Is there an interest or an extra cost on using the payment plan?
It is interest-free, but there is a $50 per semester application fee. So when you're enrolling in the payment plan and submitting that information, the first thing it will ask you for is the first installment, which will be the 1/5 of the total budget amount, and the $50 application fee. So you'll be required to submit that full payment, those two items, to complete enrollment. Okay, so and that would be due each semester that you participate on the payment plan.
Great, thanks. And Danny, if you want to take this question from Shahan, when will commitment fees, enrollment, and housing be given back or reimbursed? And maybe Laura, you can also, I don't know if you can talk about that as well.
Commitment and housing fees I've seen on statements.
Yes.
So both of those, your commitment deposit should have posted immediately upon registration. They do wait till the student is registered for classes before they will post the $300 commitment deposit. And I have seen the housing deposit, you paid $800. The housing office will credit back $400 for the fall. Most of those credits I've seen on students' accounts, and $400 for the spring. So check your billing statement. Those two credits should already be there.
And again, as Lori mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you're looking at your recent activity. So on your statement that you received a while back, it may not show the housing commitment deposit refunded, but if you go to your current activity, you would most likely see it there. So you want to check there as well. And I know that was supposed to go to you, Danny, but don't worry, we got another question coming your way.
All right.
So if you can answer this one for us. So can merit-based aid like scholarships be applied before spring semester or only before the start of the academic year? So I think the student's asking, does it all get dispersed at once, or does it get dispersed in fall and in spring?
Definitely. So a lot of the times with different scholarships, it depends. It depends if they have specified a certain amount for fall and spring. If not, when the amount is given to the financial aid office, it's usually broken into half, and you get half for fall and half for spring. So that's the way they break it up. If it were to be given, say for instance, it to us in the fall term or before the fall term. Now, if you did get a scholarship and they gave you the check, or they sent the check to us and it was just for spring, then that can be fully dispersed into just the spring semester. but we will break the scholarships in half if you get them to us at the beginning of the academic year.
Great, thanks. And let's go to our next question. So, is there still time to be able to get financial aid if, my question just moved down, I'm sorry, if my next steps are to turn in additional requested information? And that was from Catherine. So I'll go ahead and take this one. Yes, you're still able to receive financial aid. You just want to make sure that you get those additional documents into us as soon as you possibly can. And this is a good thing to keep in mind for next year. You want to make sure that you're applying on time. As an entering student, we're a little bit more lenient with the deadlines, but as a continuing student, you really want to make sure that you are applying on time and by our set deadlines so you don't receive a reduction in your financial aid. Now, that's if you submit it within the next few weeks. So you want to make sure, again, that you're getting those documents in as soon as you possibly can. If you're going through any form of difficulty, give our office a call. Let us know what the circumstances. Maybe there's a way that we can possibly assist you with that as well. And then let's take this question from Bowen, and I'll go ahead and read it, and then Danny, if you want to take it. So I called to ask why my Cal Grant wasn't on my bill, and was told that I wasn't eligible for the Cal Grant. And even though I go to the Cal Grant website, I still see that I'm eligible. Am I actually eligible, and will I get my Cal Grant? So Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about when you fill out your FAFSA for the first time, and then once we verify the file, if we need to update any information through FAFSA, and how that kind of plays a role with Cal Grant as well?
I think, do you mind taking this question, Jessica? I think you could better address it than me.
No, that's fine. So when you submit your FAFSA, for a lot of students, you may be submitting it based on estimates at the time, or maybe something just wasn't filled out in the right slot. And when we get the application and we verify the information based off of your tax returns and other documentation that you submit to our office, if there's a change that we need to make to the FAFSA, then we will upload that change and actually send it out to FAFSA. Now, the reason why FAFSA plays such an important part within that is because Cal Grant uses the FAFSA and the Cal Grant GPA verification form to determine your eligibility for Cal Grant. And the one that they look at is the first submission of your FAFSA, right? So if you submit, if we go in and we make corrections, they're not looking at those corrections as well. So it may be that you were initially eligible for the Cal Grant with your initial FAFSA that was submitted. But if there was something wrong with the FAFSA, we had to update the information on there, then that may make you ineligible to receive the Cal Grant. But you can always give our office a call and we can double check that for you as well. So I hope that answers your question, Bowen. And I'm looking through our list of questions right now. So this question is from Adam. So if I applied for all possible loans and grants and I still have a balance to pay, what are some resources I could use to help cover the remaining balance? So Danny, I think you can go ahead and take this one, talking about maybe the actual bill on the account on EPay aren't the same charges that are on the estimated cost of attendance, and what items kind of differ. So like lab fees, health insurance, things like that, and what they can do to do a budget increase and how is that funded?
Definitely. So when you're looking at the financial aid awards summary, keep in mind that cost that says at the bottom, that's an estimated cost. So you're not going to be charged that exact amount. Now, for any instance, say there isn't enough aid to cover everything that you were charged for, and some of those things weren't covered in the budget in our cost of attendance. So what you can do is you can log into your FAST page and submit to us a budget appeal. And what a budget appeal is basically an appeal to increase the amount of your cost of attendance. Now, if your cost of attendance increases, that may ultimately allow you more room to be awarded more financial aid. Some of the things that you can apply for a budget appeal are, say your housing is above cost, or you have lab fees, or your student health insurance, and you want us to take that into account. You just need to turn in this appeal, And once we do receive it, we may ask for other documentation to back up the appeal. And if it is approved, it can ultimately lead to more aid being dispersed to you in your account. As well, if for any instance, say the aid that you have right now isn't covering the total bill, your parents also have the option to apply for the Parent Plus loan. With the Parent Plus loan, they can borrow up to the remaining cost of attendance and cover all the remaining costs that you may incur.
Okay, great, thank you. As well, and I think we're pretty much done on our questions. Are there any last minute tips that you guys want to add? I know that you talked about OASIS and FERPA. Danny, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Sure. As you guys progress through your time here at USC, make sure to apply by the deadlines. As incoming students, we don't enforce the deadlines as harshly as we do with continuing students. If you apply late for financial aid as a continuing student, that's going to ultimately reduce the amount of financial aid that you do receive. So always adhere to the deadlines. As well, when you are filling out the financial aid applications, we know a lot of the times that parents like to use their tax returns. And the tax returns sometimes aren't, completed at the time when they are filling it out. Use estimates, submit those forms to us by the deadlines, and then you can always go back and update them. But get it in by the deadlines.
Great. Anything else to add, Lori?
I'd just like to restate that federal Perkins promissory note thing.
Yeah.
We are getting some incomplete promissory notes, so there is only a signature required on the first page, but we'd like you to submit all 4 pages just to make it easier on our office to get it processed. So whatever prints for your copy, please submit, sign the first page and submit the entire document. We need the entire original document, okay?
Great. And for me, I would say just make sure that you are in constant communication with our office. We have a handful, a lot of counselors on staff to answer any questions that you might have. And just a note, during move-in, so welcome week, I think move-in is that Monday the 19th, we will actually not be located in John Hubbard Hall. So for a lot of you that have come to campus, you have visited our office in John Hubbard Hall. I just want to let you know that we are actually moving to the Lion Center for the full week. So from that Monday to Friday before school starts, so it's the 17th through the 21st, we will be located in the Lion Center. Our phones will still be available, but up until then, we are available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. In person, you don't need an appointment required to come in and talk with the counselor. If you want to give us a call, that's perfectly fine as well. Our phone number is 213-740-4444. And you can also send us an email by using the contact us section of our website. And I'm trying to think of anything else to wrap up. Lori's office has the same hours of availability, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're located in parking structure B. And your phone number?
213-740-4077. And if I could just piggyback on the time we're in the Lion Center, it will not just be financial aid.
Yes.
It will be student financial services, the university cashier's office, the USC card office, USC credit union, so that you can, conduct a lot of business during that move-in week or during the welcome week. When you move in on the 19th, you can just go to the Lion Center and complete a lot of stuff in that one location.
Almost like a one-stop shop,
Right.
kind of, on campus. So we look forward to meeting you. We've been working really hard these last few months. I know that you have been working hard the last few years of your life trying to get into USC. So congratulations. We are excited to see you guys, and fight on.
Fight on.
Fight on.